everyone. It is August 1st, and that means that I am going to be participating in new readathons throughout this month. Last month, I participated in the Battle of the Bands by the Bookish Drummer, and this month I am going to be participating in two new to this channel, not new to the reading community as a whole. The first readathon that I am going to be participating is the Battle of the Bharat Mystics, run by Sanvi Makaria. In this, there are 4 teams: the Apsaras, the Nagas, the Gandharvas, and the Vitals. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Throughout this readathon, there are going to be weekly challenges with prompts for us to read books towards completing, and this will help us get farther in our race to reach the Brahmagyan. And we can also read books to submit for pages. I forget exactly what reading for pages does. So basically, it's directly converting pages into points. 100 pages is 1 point, 150 would be 1.5 points. I am a member of Team Gandharvas, and I'm really looking forward to doing this and just having a fun time. The second readathon that I am going to be participating in is another competitive readathon, and this is ARCgust. This readathon is designed to encourage readers to read their advanced reader copies or advanced listener copies of books and audiobooks, of which I do have 6 of currently, and I have pending requests, so we'll see if any more roll in throughout the month. But this is, like I said, another competitive readathon. There are 4 teams: the Obsidian Order, the Crimson Coven, Ivory Illusions, and Emerald Enigma. I am a member of Ivory Illusions, and the reason that I picked this team is because one of the co-hosts for this team, Monica from On Monica's Shelves, is the only booktuber who is part of hosting this readathon that I am familiar with going into it. I will be checking out the other hosts' channels and their content throughout the month, but and I think I didn't mention, but ARCgust overall is run by Vanessa from the booktube channel Read with Dr. B. This is kind of in line with the other competitive readathons that I have done throughout this year, specifically Realmathon and stuff, so I don't think I really need to go into all of the details, and I will be linking the announcement video for this readathon in my description, so you can always check it out for yourself and see what's happening. So those are the 2 readathons that I am going to be participating in this month. Now the question is, what am I going to be reading? Doing my best to pick books that will help my teams in both readathons. Let's start by taking a look at what prompts I need to be fulfilling this week within each readathon. In the Battle of the Bharat Mystics, Team Gandharva's current prompt is to read a book that has musical elements either in the title or on the cover. And on Team Ivory Illusions in ARCgust, I have a poll pick. So I made a poll on what I should be reading on the Bookish Drummers Discord, because they have a dedicated poll channel over there. And I did my choices based off of some arcs that I have and also some books that had musical elements. And the one that ended up winning was Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao. This has musical elements in the title in the form of song. This book is about a girl named Lan who is living in a fantasy world which I believe is inspired by China, and it has been colonized by an invading country. I don't know if the invading member is supposed to be representative of a real life culture, so I'm not going to make any claims on who it's supposed to be, but I believe that the Old Kingdom is meant to be reflective of Chinese culture. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But she is just trying to survive in a colonized land and also trying to figure out why her mother, in her dying moments, branded her with a symbol that only she can see on herself. And she ends up getting caught up in the practitioners, which is what they call kind of like their magic users in this world. She gets caught up in a society of practitioners who are trying to get enough hold and influence to overthrow the colonizers in the Old Kingdom. I think that this is going to have some really cool things to say about colonialism and imperialism and kind of like what it takes to survive in hard times when everyone is kind of suffering under this oppressive influence. So I've had this on my shelves for a while, but the size of it was just a little bit intimidating to me, so now I have a reason to pick it up. I have finished reading Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao. This was a very fun book. I liked a lot of its insight into living under colonization and how the colonizer attempts to destroy the previous culture and identity, especially with the changing of names and the not necessarily outlawing of the native language, but making the colonizer's language the principal one. And so the natives have to speak in their tongue in private as opposed to being able to openly speak how they prefer in public. I think that there were some really cool looks into colonialism in that sense. And I also like the moral complexity of the characters and their choices. I like that there's kind of like this debate of if something is right in the sense of there are only so many options that you have been given and they're all shitty. So what are you meant to do when you have to pick between only bad options? There were a couple of things in this that I was kind of like iffy on. Specifically towards the end, there were some plot twist / revelations, and the way that it was treated by different characters was a little bit weird. There is, I wouldn't necessarily say a corruption arc, but it is essentially a corruption arc where one of the main characters takes a different approach to our main character Lon, and it's treated like he was always going to do this by everyone but him. Whereas when we are in his POV, it very much feels like a spur of the moment, this is my last resort option kind of thing. And everyone else is just like, well, he was always going to do this. It just felt a little bit iffy to me. And then there is another thing that gets revealed to specifically the corrupted character. And he doesn't really change how he thinks about it based off of the new information that he has. And it makes sense that the other characters keep bringing up the stigma and the bias of the outdated information, but he doesn't attempt to correct it at all in a confrontation with them. So that just seemed like a little bit off to me. Like we had something revealed and then it was just moved past and not really addressed further. But overall, I thought that this was really cool, and I'm definitely going to be picking up the second book. I don't know if there's more to this or if it's just a duology, but I'm definitely going to be picking up the second book at the very least. But before that, I have other things to read, and I am going to be telling you about the next 2 books that I'm going to be reading. One of them is an audiobook and the other is an e-arc that I have. Starting with the audiobook, I am going to be listening to The Crack at the Heart of Everything by Fiona Fenn. This is about an evil sorcerer named Orpheus who, after using his dark magic to help his childhood friend conquer the land that they live in, he is exiled because the consequences of his magic have caused a dangerous curse to be placed upon him, and his childhood friend doesn't want to keep him around now that he is a liability of sorts. He is now forced to confront the consequences of his actions, but he isn't going to be facing them alone because for some reason he is accompanied by his rival, an ex-general in this army. And they are traveling through the land attempting to find a way to break his curse. This is a queer fantasy, and I don't know, I've seen a couple of special editions for this, specifically the Rainbow Crate one, and it piqued my curiosity, so I'm going to be giving this a listen to. And now for the arc that I am going to be reading, I am going to be reading Triple Threat by Katie Chandler. This takes place in our world, with the exception of soulmates exist, and they are marked on your body by a name written in silver, and when you touch them for the first time, their name becomes inked in black. This is about 3 tennis champions. One is Octavia Ricci. She is struggling with her career in the aftermath of her father and coach's death. They had a very complicated relationship, and she is struggling to find her identity and love for tennis through the internal conflict that complicated relationship brings her. The second tennis player is Ariel de Cordova. He is retired due to an injury which has left him with chronic pain, and he becomes Octavia's coach in the aftermath of her father's death to try and help her find her passion again. And the third character is Leo Montevani. I might be wrong about his last name. He is Octavia's long-term partner and also Ariel's soulmate. he is soulmates to both Octavia and Ariel, and the book is about them kind of finding their balance and groove in this new situation, while also trying to work through the professional and athletic competition of Ariel and Octavia's relationship as coach and player, and them trying to work through their emotional struggles that actually the two of them are really able to connect and understand each other on a deeper level. This is going to be very interesting, I think. Some of my thoughts before even reading it, I think it's really cool that this is a polyamorous relationship where the couple isn't tied together specifically through the female partner. I think it's really cool that Leo is the like central partner in the relationship. And yeah, I think that is one of the main draws for me to read this book. But I'm excited to see the emotional depths of these characters and how they work through this relationship together. And I think it'll be really fun to read. So I'm going to be diving into this arc.
All right, this is a break from my normal way of doing things where I give you guys what I'm going to read before I start reading it, and then I talk to you again once I've finished it. I'm a little bit under halfway through Triple Threat by Katie Chandler. And there was just a line dropped that I'm suspicious of something. I have a theory. And if I turn out to be right, this book might be we will see if I am right. I don't want to give you any more details because I don't know if I'm right, and two, spoilers for an arc. Oh, but this is very interesting. I will keep you guys updated. Okay, I only needed to read like 2 more sentences and it was confirmed. Oh my god. This deepens Octavia and her relationship with her father so much. And I hope that they talk about this more at some point in this book and don't like gloss over this, because this changes things. Because I thought that this was purely like professional beef that ruined her and her father's relationship. But no, her father made her do something that she did not want to do. And okay, I need to keep reading. This has me hooked.
Okay, so last time I talked to you guys, I was telling you about the next 2 books that I was going to read, and I have finished both of these books. So I'm going to start by talking about the arc that I have. This arc is going to be coming out, or not arc. This book is going to be officially coming out in December. I want to say the 26th is what I want to say is the release date, December 26th of this year. I might be wrong, and if I am, I will put the correct date up. And this book is Triple Threat by Katie Chandler. This book is so emotionally rich and complex. I had an amazing time reading it. The main romance of this story is a poly romance. And I think that it is really well executed, especially considering the fact that soulmates are a component in this world. I feel like what can very easily happen in novels that involve soulmates is the emotional learning and communication that needs to go into a truly authentic relationship can kind of get cast to the wayside and not fully developed because they're soulmates, so they're meant to be together, so they're going to be together. That was not the case in this book. Our main characters, Octavia, Ariel, and Leo, had to really work to communicate and have a good, healthy relationship, as well as they didn't instantly fall in love with each other. Their feelings grew over the course of them getting to know each other. So I really appreciated that the romance was well done. And on top of that, all of the characters just felt really complex in their own right. No one felt two-dimensional. Octavia had a lot of stuff going on regarding her relationship with tennis and her father, and that crossed really well with Ariel's story as being a father and dealing with having to put his son first, but that's not like something that he views as a problem. It's just he loves his son above all else, so his son will come first. And does that mean making some sacrifices? Yes, but he would take those sacrifices over making a bad choice for his son any day. And I thought that their emotional story arcs really meshed well together, along with the story arc of Ariel's son, Eduardo, mirroring Octavia's in a really cool way. And then Leo, the other member of this relationship, was kind of like the emotionally stable one of them, and acted kind of as like the support crutch for Ariel and Octavia, but that didn't make him feel any less deep as a character. He felt like he had his own problems, and he had reached a point where he was kind of emotionally stable enough to be able to have a grip on himself and also help support the other two people that he cares about. Not that he had no problems and only existed as an emotional crutch for them. That was not the case, and I really enjoyed that. And then the side characters also all felt like they had their own emotional backstory and lives going on in the background. No one felt like they were just there to support the main characters. So Triple Threat overall was just a really fun read, and everyone was amazing. I had such a great time, and I really do highly recommend this for anyone who likes sport romances and also anyone who just really likes poly romances. I think that this is a great read. Yeah. The second book that I read was an audiobook, and that was The Crack at the Heart of Everything by Fiona Fenn. This was a kind of fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian mix. I don't really know how to describe the genre. It definitely leans more towards the fantasy, but it takes place in like an alternate version of our reality. And I don't know. The setting is interesting, and I really wish that we had more world building surrounding exactly what was going on, but we got like drops of information, but not enough that I really felt satisfied with the world building. And I would say that that is probably this book's weakest aspect. We follow our main character Orpheus as he is forced to leave the palace that he and his childhood friend made in his childhood friend Lore's conquest to take over the world, essentially. So he was the bad guy, and he has now been banished, and he is forced to kind of see what has become of the world for the first time and how his actions have impacted people. And it's honestly, there is a romance in this, but I would say that this is more a story about coming to terms with your own actions and accepting consequences and finding a way to make peace with yourself and feel like you can right your wrongs. It's very much more of like a story about an emotional journey as opposed to a story about the romance that happens. There is a romance, and it is very, very cute. It is between Orpheus and Fenrir, who was a general in Lore's army and who also is grappling with the implications and results of his actions. So him and Orpheus are very much on the like kind of same journey, and they both kind of support each other through that journey and moving forward with their lives. This was a very fun book, but like I said, some of the world building left things to be desired. It felt a little like unclear to me exactly what this world was. It was some kind of like magical nuclear fallout apocalypse, but I wish that we just had more details about the past of this world and what happened in order for me to have like a good understanding of how the world has changed and how Orpheus has changed the world, in order to kind of like help push the emotional aspect of the story too. But it was still a very good read, and I would recommend it to you all. So yes, that is the most recent 2 books that I have read. And since reading those in one of the 2 readathons that I'm participating in, the Battle of the Bharat Mystics, I have received a new prompt to be reading for, and that prompt is to read a book that an influencer really enjoys. And so to start off reading for this prompt, I am going to be continuing the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and I will be reading The Gate of the Feral Gods by Matt Dinniman. I've been having a really fun time with this series. It is starting to get very chunky and it's scaring me a little bit, but I am really hoping that I'm going to be continuing to enjoy this. The 3rd book I had a fun time with, but there were a couple of points where I was like, okay, we just keep bouncing from action to action to action, and I need a little bit of breathing room. But it is my understanding that the 3rd book is kind of like everyone's least favorite of the series. So I'm hoping that I will get a bounce back with The Gate of the Feral Gods, but we will see. Hello, everyone. I have finished reading The Gate of the Feral Gods by Matt Dinniman. I can't say too much about this since it's like the middle of a series, so obviously anything that I could say about the details would be spoilery for people who still have yet to read the series and want to read the series. So let me try to tell you how I feel about this without giving away any details. The first, 100 to 200 pages of this kind of felt a little bit of a slog for me for some reason. They just felt, very slow and, nothing much was happening. But I do understand that, with each new floor that Carl and Donut go to, there's a whole new concept that they have to, learn and get accustomed to. So, like, I understand why it slowed down. It was just a little bit of a tough read to get through because it didn't really feel like much of importance was happening. But once I got past that, like, 30% mark, things picked up pace and I started enjoying myself more. I will say I think I had a better time reading this than I did the last book, which is understandable because I think everyone has said that the Dungeon Anarchists cookbook is, like, not the worst book of the series, but, like, everyone's least favorite, is my understanding of the consensus. I enjoy all of the things that we continue to establish with the major themes of this book series. We love Carl killing anyone who is responsible for the crawl that he can get his hands on. We love that for this man. We love our anti-establishment anarchist king. And seeing as even that is a little bit spoilery encroaching, I don't want to say too much more on this, but I did enjoy myself, and I am really looking forward to the next book, given the promise that Carl makes to the audience in-world and the audience IRL. I'm excited to get to that, but I have other things that I need to be reading in the meantime before I can continue this series. So it is Saturday, which means that the first week of ARCgust and the first week of the Battle of the Barat Mystics are about to come to a close, but there is hopefully enough time for me to squeeze in one more book this week. And so for this, I am going to be reading an arc that I was given for a book that actually already came out. I think, did it come out at the end of July? No, it came out at the end of June, so I'm a full month late in when I was supposed to have read this and reviewed it. I am going to be reading All We Hunger For by Anna Mercier. Mercier. It's French. I get that a lot of this is French because of the book description, which I am going to read from you off of my tablet really quick. In Anaspere, where magic comes alive through artistic skill, Elara Rousseau knows she'll never be selected for the Objet d'Art. D'Art. Listen to me butcher all this French stuff. The high-stakes baking competition will elect a new sovereign to join the ruling council, and someone from the slums would never be considered. But when a brooding figure from her past sneaks her into the objet, Elara has the chance to compete for a better future, as long as no one discovers her traitorous secret. Against all odds, Elara excels and becomes a hero to the city's poor, all while Nick's faith in his father crumbles and the sparks between them burn brighter. As the competition heats up, Elara and Nick must choose. Fight to win the competition and secure a future of safety for them both, or use the power of Elara's art to spark a revolution. Nicolas Dupont will do whatever it takes to impress his powerful father, a sovereign who hasn't officially recognized his son, like handpick a contestant to win and become his father's political pawn. But Elara is more than he bargained for, and she ignites his own subdued passions. A young woman sneaks her way into a magical baking contest, but gets pulled into an elusive aristocrat's lavish world and his nefarious plan as rebellion brews in their city, for fans of a magic steeped in poison. This sounds very cool. I like the idea of magic through baking. It's a very unique concept to me, and I don't think I've ever really read anything like it. I know that there are a couple of books out there that have unique magic systems like this. They're just not ones that I've read. So I'm really interested in this, and it seems like a big part of this is going to be like the class system and a brewing rebellion. So it seems a little bit fantasy dystopian to me. So I'm very curious about this, and I'm just gonna dive right in. It is now Monday morning, and I have finished reading All We Hunger For by Anna Mercier. This was a very fun read. I enjoyed a lot of the commentary on kind of the class system and kind of like how even, I don't know, I felt like there was a lot to say about propaganda because both our main character and the main love interest both kind of fell into the propaganda created by the ruling class of if you work hard enough, you can elevate your station, only to have to kind of realize that no, the system has been built against us and they would not allow us to move up, even if we are worthy of moving up by the standards that they set. I thought that was really cool commentary, and I thought that all of the characters in this were very complex, and the relationships and dynamics between everyone were all very fun. My main complaint is the timeline of events that happened before the book started is kind of unclear, because one of the big plot points is that our main character is the daughter of an ex-rebellion leader, and the way that it's talked about at the beginning of the book, I thought that her mother was killed when she was very young, like 10 or younger, but it's revealed around the midway point that her mother was killed when she was a teenager, as well as when her love interest was a teenager, and that kind of changed how I viewed their thought processes and their opinions on her mother and the rebellion. It kind of like negatively impacted that, but that might just be a me thing. And the other thing is this has a very unique magic system. The magic is all surrounding creativity and different art forms, which I thought was really, really cool. I love unique magic systems. But other than the magic system, the world building felt a little bit lacking. We had like a lot of different places thrown at us, and the way that the system of power kind of came to be wasn't really deeply explained very well. And it was a little bit weird, but overall, I thought that this was a really fun read, and I had a great time. And I would really recommend this to people who like dystopians, because even though it's not a dystopian, it has a lot of like dystopian vibes. And people who like competitions in stories. And yeah, I'd say that those are like the two main groupings that I would recommend this to. But now that I have finished that, I have officially finished my reading for the first week of ARCgust and for the Battle of the Barat Mystics. So I am going to be saying goodbye to you guys for now, and I will see you in my next video.